So, you know that feeling, right? Like you're
Ah.
driving alone, it's late at night, and the roads are just completely empty.
Oh, yeah. The absolute best time to drive.
Right. You've got the radio turned up, maybe you're singing along or, I don't know, just thinking out loud to yourself.
Sure, yeah. Just kind of decompressing.
Exactly. And there is this really profound expectation of privacy in that specific moment. It's one of the few places left where you feel truly isolated, just completely enclosed in this private bubble of glass and steel just moving through the dark.
Yeah, it really does feel like a sanctuary. I mean, it's actually a very human psychological response to being in that sort of self-directed, enclosed space. We feel safe.
Right. But I was looking through the stack of investigative reports today for our deep dive, and the pieces are titled things like The Digital Witness Inside Your Car and The Rolling Surveillance.
Yeah, those are some pretty heavy titles.
They really are. And honestly, they completely shatter that illusion of privacy because the engineering reality, according to these sources, is that you aren't actually alone.
Not at all. Not anymore, at least.
Right. You basically have a digital witness riding shotgun every single time you turn the key or push the ignition button, you are booting up a surveillance network.
Yeah, and I think it's important to clarify right off the bat that this isn't some theoretical dystopian future we're talking about.
It's not science fiction.
No, it's the baseline reality of modern automotive engineering. I mean, we've essentially stopped driving mechanical machines and started driving networked computers.
Oh, networked computers. That's a shift.
It is. The vehicles on the road today are explicitly designed to watch, to record, and, well, to remember.
So the goal of our deep dive today is to really strip away that illusion of automotive privacy for you, the listener.
Mm.
We need to figure out exactly what our cars are quietly recording, like how they're doing it, and honestly, who gets to look at all that data?
Because the definition of a car has just completely evolved. It's not just a transportation device anymore. It is a rolling data system.
Right. So to really understand the scale of this rolling surveillance, where do we even begin?
Well, we have to look at the foundation. Before cars had, cellular connections and those massive touchscreens taking up the whole dashboard, they had a very specific, isolated piece of technology.
Okay. What is it?
It's sitting inside almost every single modern vehicle on the road right now. It's called the Event Data Recorder, or the EDR.
The EDR. Okay, so I've heard it compared to like a flight data recorder, the black box on an airplane.
Yeah.
But how does it actually function inside a car? Is it exactly the same thing?
Well, the aircraft black box is a decent starting point for an analogy, but the architecture in a passenger car is completely different.
How so?
So an aircraft recorder is generally logging continuous data over a really long flight, right? Audio, instruments, everything.
Yeah.
But the EDR in a passenger vehicle is a highly specialized microcontroller.
Okay, a microcontroller. Where is it even located?
It's usually integrated directly into the airbag control module. It's hidden away, physically bolted to the chassis of the car.
So like deep inside the frame?
Exactly, often under the center console or maybe beneath the front seats. The idea is that it has to be extremely well protected during a severe impact.
That makes sense.
Right, and its entire job, its only purpose, is to capture technical driving data in the exact milliseconds before, during, and after a crash.
Just the crash. Okay, let's talk about the actual mechanics of how it gets that data because, a car is just a collection of parts, right? So how is this little module bolted under the seat knowing what the steering wheel or the brakes are actually doing in real time?
Well, it's pulling all of that from the CAN bus.
The CAN bus, what is that?
Yeah, the controller area network. You can think of the CAN bus as the central nervous system of the vehicle.
Okay, central nervous system. I like that analogy.
In modern cars, the brakes, the steering, the engine, the seat belts, they aren't just mechanical linkages anymore. Like, it's not just a physical cable pulling a lever.
Right, it's all fly-by-wire now, mostly.
Exactly. They are electronic nodes. And they constantly broadcast their status across this central network, the CAN bus. So the EDR basically sits on this network, and it just listens to all the traffic going by.
Okay, so if the CAN bus is the nervous system, then the EDR is what, like the brain?
I'd say it's more like the amygdala.
The amygdala.
Yeah, the part of the brain that specifically handles trauma and stress. Because the EDR isn't interested in your casual highway cruising or, your 5-minute trip to the grocery store.
It doesn't care about the mundane stuff.
Not at all. It is monitoring the CAN bus for a very specific high-stakes set of parameters. For instance, it watches the wheel speed sensors.
And how do those work?
They use something called the Hall effect to measure magnetic pulses, which lets the system determine exactly how fast the car is moving down to the fraction of a mile per hour.
Wow, okay. What else is it watching?
It monitors the brake circuit. And I don't just mean checking if the pedal is pushed down. It reads the exact hydraulic pressure in the brake lines.
So it knows exactly how hard I'm panicking, basically.
Exactly. It reads the throttle position sensor, logging the precise percentage that the accelerator is pushed to the floor. It tracks the steering wheel angle using these optical or magnetic encoders.
It tracks the steering angle, too.
Oh, yeah. It even knows if the seatbelt pretensioners are engaged.
That's incredibly detailed. It's capturing the physical reality of the driver's actions with microscopic precision.
Completely.
But wait, if it's constantly listening to the CAN bus, like
Yeah.
all the time, how is it not just immediately filling up its memory with totally useless data from every time I drive to work?
That's the clever part of the engineering. It uses a continuous loop, specifically what they call a circular buffer.
A circular buffer, meaning it goes in circles.
Sort of. The microcontroller only allocates a very small amount of flash memory for this, so it writes the telemetry data, the speed, the steering, the brakes, for a short block of time, say a 5-second window.
Okay, 5 seconds.
Then, once those 5 seconds are up, it immediately loops back and overwrites that same block of memory with the next 5 seconds of data.
Oh, I see. So it's constantly erasing its own memory as you drive.
Right. It's a strictly reactive observer, just constantly hitting record and then instantly hitting delete.
Unless, I assume, something triggers it to stop erasing.
Exactly. The system is waiting for a very specific algorithm to wake it up.
What's the wake-up call?
Well, inside the module are these MEMS accelerometers. MEM. It stands for microelectromechanical systems.
Okay, that sounds intensely complicated. What are they?
They are microscopic silicon structures. Literally, they look like tiny little combs made of silicon etched right onto a computer chip.
Tiny silicon combs. Got it.
And when the car experiences a sudden, massive change in velocity, like a severe deceleration from hitting something, inertia causes those microscopic combs to physically move.
And that physical movement triggers something.
Yes, that tiny movement changes the electrical capacitance in the circuit.
So a physical force is directly creating an electrical signal.
Right. And if that voltage change exceeds a specific threshold, what engineers call an algorithm enable, or a wake-up threshold, the EDR essentially realizes, oh, the car is in a trauma event.
And that's when it springs into action.
Exactly. It stops the circular buffer from overwriting. It takes that temporary 5-second loop of pre-crash data, and it marries it to the actual crash data.
When you say crash data, you mean like when the airbags deploy?
Yes, the exact millisecond the airbags fired, the maximum delta V, which is the total change in velocity during the impact, and then it takes all of that combined data and writes it to permanent, unalterable memory.
Wow. Okay, so just to put a pin in this really quick, because I know people hear the phrase digital witness and they immediately panic and think the car is like actively listening to their private conversations or recording them singing.
Right, that's a very common fear.
But based on what you're saying, this specific module is not continuously recording audio or video.
No, the EDR does not care about audio. It only cares about the mechanical physics of a catastrophe.
Okay, that's somewhat of a relief. It's basically a highly specialized dash cam that only hits save on the last 5 seconds after you hit a massive pothole or a wall, and it discards everything else.
That's a great way to put it. That is the core forensic design philosophy. It ignores the mundane and preserves the critical. But, what's really vital to understand here is that this entire process is completely invisible to the driver.
Right. I've never seen a light on my dashboard that says EDR is recording.
Exactly. There is no indicator light. There's no screen showing the circular buffer overriding itself. Most drivers have absolutely no idea the silicon witness is even riding in the car with them.
Until they crash.
Right, until a crash occurs, and suddenly they're sitting in a room with an insurance adjuster or a police officer who looks at them and says, well, we pulled the EDR data.
Man, that has got to be a terrifying realization. Just finding out after the fact that your car was quietly taking notes the whole time.
It is a shock for a lot of people.
Which really leads us to the collision of this technology with the legal system. Because the reports we're looking at today focus heavily on what happens when the cold, hard data from the EDR is placed side by side with the human driver's memory of the crash.
Yeah, this is where the field of crash reconstruction shifts from being an art to being a rigid science.
How is it done before the EDR?
Historically, crash reconstruction relied heavily on physical roadway evidence. measuring skid marks, looking at the debris scatter across the intersection, analyzing the vehicle crush
We're
profiles.
talking to witnesses. Yeah.
Exactly. Combining that physical evidence with eyewitness statements and the driver's own account. But the introduction of EDR data completely disrupted that entire process.
Because human memory is just incredibly flawed, right?
Yeah,
Especially under extreme stress.
profoundly flawed. I mean, the physiological response to a traumatic event actively distorts our perception of reality.
How so? Like, mechanically, what's happening to the driver's brain?
When a human being experiences a sudden, violent impact, the body just floods with survival chemicals, adrenaline, cortisol, norepinephrine.
Pure fight or flight mode.
Exactly. And this chemical flood triggers a condition called tachypsychia.
What can you spell that out?
Tachypsychia. It's a neurological condition that alters your perception of time.
Oh, right. Like when time seems to slow down or speed up during an accident, people always say things like, it all happened in slow motion.
Yes, exactly that. And during that massive flood of stress hormones, memory consolidation, which is the process of your brain turning short-term observations into permanent long-term memories, is severely compromised.
Because the brain is too busy trying to keep you alive.
Precisely. The brain prioritizes immediate survival over accurate chronological timestamping.
Wow.
So what happens is a driver might be sitting in a courtroom under oath, genuinely believing with every fiber of their being that they slammed on the brakes the absolute second they saw danger. Or they might swear they were driving exactly the speed limit.
And they aren't necessarily lying.
No, they aren't lying at all. They are just honestly recounting the narrative that their traumatized brain constructed to try and make sense of the chaos.
But then, the crash reconstructionist takes the stand.
Right, and they bring the data.
How do they even get the data out of the wrecked car?
They use a specialized device called a crash data retrieval tool. They usually plug it straight into the wrecked car's OBD2 port. That's the diagnostic port, usually under the steering wheel.
And what if the front of the car is completely crushed and the wires are cut?
If the wiring harness is destroyed, they will physically extract the airbag control module from the wreckage and plug directly into it.
Wow. So they bypass the car entirely.
Yeah. And they download the raw hexadecimal code from the module. They run it through translation software, and the machine provides this incredibly emotionless, second-by-second timeline of the crash.
And I'm guessing that timeline often completely contradicts the driver's memory.
Oh, very often. The EDR might show that the driver didn't actually touch the brake pedal until 0.2 seconds after the impact had already started.
Even though they swore they hit it early.
Right. Or it might show that the throttle was pinned to 80% capacity, or that they were traveling 20 miles over the posted limit right up until impact.
It's literally a battle between human biology and silicon.
It really is.
And I imagine the courts heavily favor the silicon in these cases.
They absolutely do. EDR data has consistently met what is known as the Daubert standard in the United States.
The Daubert standard, what is that exactly?
It's the rule of evidence regarding the admissibility of expert witnesses' testimony in federal and many state courts. Basically, the courts recognize that the methodology of the EDR is scientifically valid, it's testable, and it is generally accepted in the engineering community.
So it's bulletproof evidence.
In the eyes of the law, yes. Because the machine doesn't blink, it doesn't panic, and it certainly doesn't suffer from adrenaline-induced time distortion. It's viewed as the ultimate arbiter of mechanical truth.
Wait, but hold on. Let me push back on this idea of mechanical truth being the ultimate truth for a second.
So go ahead.
Because this rigid reliance on just the raw data seems to strip away a lot of vital context. Like, sure, the EDR knows the brake wasn't pressed, but it doesn't know why it wasn't pressed.
That's a very fair point.
Like, what if a child ran out from between two parked cars and the driver made a split-second calculated decision to actually swerve and accelerate to avoid hitting the kid, which resulted in them crashing into a telephone pole instead?
The EDR wouldn't know about the child.
Right. The EDR just sees no brakes, high throttle. Isn't the legal system treating this machine as, like, too flawless by totally ignoring the environment outside the car?
You're identifying the absolute core limitation of the technology. The EDR records the what, but it is entirely blind to the why.
It only sees the inputs.
Exactly. It records mechanical inputs, not environmental context. It doesn't see the child in the street. It doesn't see the patch of black ice on the bridge.
What about medical emergencies?
It wouldn't know about that either. It doesn't know if the driver was having a sudden medical emergency, like a seizure or a heart attack, that caused their foot to spasm and press the accelerator.
It basically just outputs a spreadsheet that says speed was 75, brake was 0. And to a jury of regular people, a spreadsheet looks like Undeniable objective reality.
Which is exactly why ethical crash reconstruction experts will tell you that EDR data cannot be used in a vacuum. It absolutely has to be married to the physical evidence at the scene.
So you still need the old school detective work.
Yes. If the EDR shows an aggressive steering input to the left, the investigator needs to look at the tire marks on the actual road to see if the physical evidence corroborates a sudden evasive maneuver. They have to tell the whole story.
Okay, that makes me feel a little better.
But, and this is a big but, the reality of civil litigation and insurance claims is that hard data is overwhelmingly persuasive.
It's hard to argue with a computer.
Exactly. When faced with a sympathetic, traumatized driver on one side and a clean, printed graph of undeniable physics on the other, the system almost always defers to the physics.
Man, so if the machine is universally trusted by the court over my own memory, my immediate thought is who gets to look at this data?
That is the million-dollar question.
Because, like, this little black box is sitting in my driveway right now inside my car. Who actually holds the keys to this vault of data? Can I just say, no, you can't look at it?
The question of access leads us right into a massive legal gray area. Let's start with the federal level. Under the Driver Privacy Act of 2015, the U.S. government established that the data on the EDR officially belongs to the owner or the lessee of the vehicle.
Okay, good. That sounds promising. It's my car, it's my hardware, so it's my data.
Yes, but the sources we are reviewing today make a crucial, almost painful distinction. Ownership does not prevent access. Ownership and access are two very different things under the law. The legal system is built with established, codified loopholes designed to extract that data, often completely bypassing your desire to keep it private.
Walk me through that. Because if I own it,
Yeah.
how do they get it without me physically handing them the keys or giving them permission?
Let's start with law enforcement. The Fourth Amendment protects against unreasonable searches and seizures, right?
Get a warrant.
Exactly. And courts have generally held that citizens have a reasonable expectation of privacy regarding the interior data of their vehicles. However, if there is a severe crash, especially one involving a fatality or suspected criminal negligence like a DUI,
The police are going to get involved.
yes, and the police simply go to a judge, they present the physical evidence of the crash to establish probable cause, and they obtain a search warrant.
And once they have the warrant,
Once they have that warrant, your ownership of the data is totally irrelevant. They compel the extraction, they plug in their tool, and they take it.
okay, honestly, that makes sense for a serious criminal investigation. I mean, if someone dies, we need to know what happened. But what if it's not criminal? What if I just rear-end someone at a stoplight, nobody is hurt, and it's just a civil dispute over, bumper damages?
Well, that falls under civil litigation where police warrants don't apply at all.
Okay, so my data is safe from the other guy's lawyer.
Not exactly. Warrants don't apply, but subpoenas do.
Oh, right.
In the discovery phase of a civil lawsuit, the opposing attorney can file a motion demanding the EDR data.
Just as evidence for the lawsuit.
Exactly. Because courts recognize this data as highly relevant, discoverable evidence regarding liability, a judge will almost certainly grant a court order forcing you to hand it over.
Wow. So I can't just refuse.
No, you cannot hide behind ownership if the data is deemed material to the lawsuit.
So basically, saying that I own the data just means I am the temporary custodian of the data until a judge or a cop formally demands it.
That is a very accurate way to summarize it, yes. But the most common and perhaps the most insidious method of extraction doesn't involve judges or cops or subpoenas at all.
Okay, who does it involve?
It involves your own insurance company, and the wild part is it relies on your own consent.
Let me guess. It's buried somewhere in the fine print.
Deep, deep in the fine print.
Of course it is.
When you sign your auto insurance policy, there is almost always a cooperation clause included in the contract.
A cooperation clause. What does that actually mean?
It means you are contractually agreeing to cooperate fully with their investigation in the event of a claim. So if you get into an accident and you refuse to let their adjuster plug into your car and pull the EDR data to verify your account of the crash.
They could just say, I'm violating the contract.
Yes, you are violating the cooperation clause.
And then what? They drop my coverage.
They can just outright deny your claim. They'll basically say, give us the data or you can pay for the totaled car yourself.
Man, that feels like coerced consent. Like you don't really have a choice if you want them to pay out.
It is absolutely a contractual bind. And
Yeah.
honestly, this brings us to what I consider the most alarming part of the sources we are analyzing today.
It gets worse.
It gets much broader. Everything we just discussed, the EDR, the circular buffers, the crash reconstruction, that is all reactive technology. It's the old school, crash-focused black box waiting for an accident.
Right. It only cares about crashes.
But the vehicles rolling off assembly lines today are no longer just reacting to crashes. They are proactively, continuously monitoring everything.
Right. We are moving away from just the EDR and getting into telematics, the whole connected car ecosystem.
Exactly. Telematics.
And look, I get it. We all want the massive touch screens, the real-time traffic updates on the map, and, the app on our phone that lets us start the heater from the kitchen on a cold morning.
It's incredible convenience. But that convenience requires a massive, persistent, two-way flow of data. Modern vehicles are equipped with telematics control units, or TCUs.
TCUs. Are those different from the EDR?
Very different. These modules have embedded cellular connections, literally eSIMs, built into the car.
So the car basically has its own cell phone plan.
Yes, and they are constantly pinging cell towers completely, regardless of whether your actual smartphone is even in the car. They are generating continuous driving behavior records.
Okay, pause. What exactly falls under a driving behavior record? Because that sounds so much broader than just checking my brake pressure during a 5-second crash loop.
It is exponentially broader. Telematics systems log your GPS history, for starters.
Wait, everywhere I go?
Every single location the vehicle has ever been, the exact routes you've taken, and exactly how long the vehicle remained parked at specific geographical coordinates.
That's a lot of location tracking.
It doesn't stop there. They log your average speeds over time, the frequency of hard braking events, and rapid accelerations. They monitor exactly when you drive.
Like time of day.
Yes, logging if your commute happens during high-risk late-night hours, for instance.
And unlike the EDR, which you said overwrites itself every 5 seconds, this telematics data is being packaged and transmitted completely out of the car. It's going up to the cloud.
Exactly. It is transmitted continuously back to the manufacturer's corporate servers.
Wow.
But it gets even deeper when you bring your personal smartphone into the environment.
Oh boy, the Bluetooth sync.
Right. When you get into your car and connect your phone via Bluetooth, or you plug it in with a USB cable to use Apple CarPlay or Android Auto.
Which everyone does immediately.
Everyone does it. But when you do, the vehicle's infotainment system often requests access to the device's root data.
See, I always thought that was just so it could, display my Spotify playlists or show my text messages on the big screen.
Well, that is the functional utility of it, yes.
Yeah.
But the data transfer goes both ways. The car pulls your contact list, your call logs, and sometimes even your SMS text message history.
And it keeps it.
It stores this paired phone data in its own internal memory. Furthermore, if you use the car's built-in voice command system to change the radio or ask for directions, the vehicle often logs those audio commands.
Are you kidding?
No, it tracks remote access records too. So every single time you unlock the doors with the manufacturer's proprietary smartphone app, it timestamps it and sends it to the cloud.
It's literally like buying a smartphone that just happens to have wheels attached to it.
That is exactly what modern cars have become.
You think you're buying a machine just to get to work, but you're actually purchasing a node in a massive global surveillance network.
And going back to that paradox of ownership we talked about earlier, does owning the car even mean anything when the manufacturer is silently vacuuming up my entire digital life and sending it to their own cloud server?
Well, the manufacturers frame this continuous data collection very specifically. They do it under the banner of safety and convenience.
Which is brilliant marketing. It is. They argue that they absolutely need the GPS data to provide you with accurate, real-time navigation. And they say they need the diagnostic telemetry to alert you to mechanical failures before they strand you on the highway.
Which, to be fair, is true. I like knowing if my tire pressure is low before it pops. But it's also incredibly convenient for them to possess this vast ocean of behavioral data. What are they actually doing with all of it?
They are monetizing it heavily.
Selling it.
Yes. The sources we are looking at detail the incredible rise of a secondary market of data brokers. These are massive companies, names you might recognize like LexisNexis or Verisk.
Okay, I've heard of LexisNexis for, background check.
Exactly. Car manufacturers often partner directly with these data brokers, feeding them the raw telematics data streamed from your car.
And what do the breakers do with it?
The brokers aggregate this massive amount of data, they build a risk profile on you, and then they turn around and sell it to insurance companies.
Are you serious? So my insurance company doesn't even need to wait for me to get into a crash or compel my EDR data with a cooperation clause to look at my driving habits. They can just log on and buy my daily telematics profile from a data broker.
Precisely. The insurance companies are moving toward using this data for continuous risk analysis.
Continuous risk analysis.
So, if the telematics show that you frequently brake hard or you routinely exceed the speed limit on your daily commute to work, they can quietly adjust your risk profile and just increase your premiums.
Sometimes without you ever knowing exactly why your rate went up in the first place.
Exactly. You just get a higher bill.
Hmm.
They also use it aggressively in claims investigations. If you report a car stolen, for example, the first thing the insurer will do is request the remote access logs and the GPS breadcrumbs from the manufacturer to verify your story.
To make sure you didn't just drive it into a lake for the insurance money.
Right. They check if the app was used to unlock the car right before it was stolen.
The scale of this is just staggering to me. I mean, we started this deep dive talking about the private sanctuary of the driving experience, just being alone on a dark road. But the core reality here is that modern vehicles are highly efficient informants.
They are the ultimate informants because they never sleep.
Right. And once this data exists, whether it's the 5-second mechanical snapshot of the EDR or the continuous, endless GPS breadcrumbs of the telematics system, it's basically like gravity.
How so?
Like multiple entities will inevitably find the legal, contractual, or technological pathways to just pull that data toward them. It's too heavy to ignore.
That's a really sharp analogy. The data is simply too valuable to remain isolated in your driveway. It is valuable to the engineers refining the vehicles, it is valuable to the actuaries pricing the insurance policies, and it is absolutely vital to the legal system adjudicating the aftermath of our mistakes on the road.
Let's synthesize what we've uncovered today, because honestly, this completely changes how I view my daily commute. We started by looking under the seat at the foundation of all this, the EDR.
The black box.
Right. This hidden microcontroller, wired directly into the vehicle's nervous system, quietly cycling through a continuous loop of memory, just waiting for those microscopic silicon combs in its accelerometers to trigger a permanent recording of a catastrophe.
And we saw how the cold mechanical memory of that single device has fundamentally altered the science of crash reconstruction. It often completely supersedes the traumatized, flawed memories of the human beings involved in the crash.
Yeah, the legal system just defers to the physics, despite the EDR's total inability to understand the context of the environment outside the car.
Exactly.
And then we discovered how that specific reactive crash data was really just the beginning of the curve. The evolution into the connected car has transformed the vehicle from a simple machine into a proactive surveillance tool.
A very capable surveillance tool.
It tracks our physical locations, our daily driving habits, and it even pulls our private digital communications right from our synced phones, packaging all of it up for manufacturers, data brokers, and insurers.
And all of this access is seamlessly facilitated by a complex web of fine print, coerced consent, and legal loopholes that render the whole concept of data ownership largely theoretical at best.
So for everyone listening right now, the immediate takeaway from this deep dive is just profound awareness. The next time you walk out to your driveway and you unlock your car with an app, plug your phone into the dashboard, and pull out onto the road.
Remember that the vehicle is taking notes.
Exactly. The digital witness is always awake, and it is always riding shotgun.
Which leaves us with a critical and somewhat unsettling question to consider as this technology continues to evolve at breakneck speed.
What's the question?
As our vehicles become infinitely more capable of recording the precise details of our lives, our movements, and our behaviors, all under the comforting banner of safety and convenience, at what point does the car stop serving the person driving it and start serving the entities collecting the data?
Man, that is a chilling thought. And it's one that is definitely going to linger long after you turn off the engine tonight. Because as we've learned today, the one place you thought you were completely alone is the one place you never really are.